Hey everybody, what is going on? Hraesvelgr here with another Master Duel video for you all. So we are back at the Link Festival with a few more games here, and I am bringing back more pure Tri-Brigade, as I, of course, cannot stay away from this deck for, even 2 seconds if possible. And with, of course, not only branded Tri-Brigade being, at least somewhat meta-relevant, and then, of course, the Link Festival having Tri-Brigade, I'm definitely getting more than my fill of the deck again this season, which actually feels really good. I mean, this Tri-Brigade has just always been my favorite, well, not always, but, all my time in Master Duel, this has been my favorite archetype to play. It's just very cool thematically. I like the effects. I think it's a... it got me very used to Link summoning pretty quickly, honestly, so it's a good way to get into that if you're not as familiar with Link summoning as I wasn't when I first got back into the game in January there. But yeah, so I definitely wanted to round out some more of my Link Festival games with, of course, Tri-Brigade here. At this point in time, it's still relatively early on in the festival. It's the 16th of the day that I'm recording this. It'll probably be a few days after that this goes. Well, actually, I'm thinking about schedule here. It'll probably be maybe a little under a week before this goes out after that. But in any case, yeah, at this point, I just hit Platinum in the Link Festival, and I'm not honestly too much sure how much more I'm going to end up climbing. I got the sleeve, which does look very nice. I do like that Link blue, and I do actually plan on making that like my main sleeve moving forward. It just looks so clean. I really want that diamond frame. That Link diamond frame looks really good. I really don't know if I'm trying to play that much Link Festival to get up to Link Diamond 1. It's interesting. I've actually seen a lot of people on the subreddit kind of complain about this festival. And I think it's a valid complaint that, being ladder-based and not having loner decks makes the rewards just less accessible in general. And I know a lot of people weren't super satisfied with the Duelist Cup period, but were kind of willing to tolerate it because it was one, kind of different, and two, it was you're playing more meta-based decks, so it made sense to have a ladder instead of just playing against people who are at your rank in the regular ranked ladder. As far as those notions go, I'm inclined to agree with most of them, honestly. I do think it makes the event a little bit less accessible to not have loner decks and to make it ladder-based. And I do think it's valid that to have that complaint because, the events should be accessible to all the players, right? This should be the type of, draw to the game for someone who doesn't regularly play it, right? Oh, there's this event going on, let me see what's going on in Master Duel, right? But, those are also the same kind of players who are then hurt by not having access to loader decks or having to play on a ranked ladder format as opposed to just being able to freely play against people within their ranks, right? Again, it's just going to make the rewards less accessible to them, people who honestly could probably use the gems a little bit more. That's not even counting the sleeves or the frame. I think that the icon frame is fine to have at the top. I mean, it looks really clean. I really want it, and I'm pretty upset that I'm very, very, very likely not gonna get it. But at the same time, it's yeah, there should be incentive to try during a festival. At the same time, I think still gatekeeping it behind that kind of a win system is maybe again a little bit unfair. So yeah, I think the complaints are valid. I don't always agree with complaints on the Master Duel subreddit, but I do think that one's valid. So yeah, so anyway, moral of the story, I'm at Platinum now in the festival. Don't know if I'm going to go on much further than that. If you really, really want to see more Link Festival games, do feel free to let me know in the comments, and I will be happy to oblige. I wouldn't mind an excuse to ladder more and try to get that icon frame, but yeah, at this point in time, I don't know that I'm going to play too much more of it, or honestly any more of it moving forward. But in any case, sorry, bumped the desk there. We did manage to still get some pretty good games on our way up to Platinum in the festival there, knocking out quite a few different decks there. So let's go ahead and break down this list. It's unchanged from the last time, by the way. Let's go ahead and break down this list card by card, and then we'll go ahead and take a look at some games. So, oh, you know what? I did notice that. Oh, it's because wait, did this get undone? I thought I took this out for Knightmare Unicorn. Well, I mean, I guess in these games I had this in the extra deck, so I'll just leave it in here. But, okay, whatever. In any case, we are playing one PSY-Frame Driver. Yeah, one PSY-Frame Driver, 2 Effect Veiler, 3 Tri-Brigade Nervall, 3 Maxx, 2 PSY-Frame Gear Gamma, 2 Tri-Brigade Kerass, 3 Tri-Brigade Kitt, 3 Ash Blossom and Joyous Spring, 2 Rescue Cat, 2 Tri-Brigade Fraktall, 2 Nibiru the Primal Being, 1 Harpie's Featherduster, 1 Foolish Burial, 3 Pot of Desires, 2 Fire Formation Tenki, 2 Called by the Grave, 1 Crossout Designator, 3 Infinite Impermanence, and then 2 Tri-Brigade Revolt. Extra deck is going to have 1 Salamangreat Almiraj, 1 Firefighting Darumidal, 1 Crusadia Regulux, 1 Brotherhood of the Fire Fist Peacock, 1 Ancient Warrior's Oath Double Dragon Lords, 2 Tri-Brigade Ferrijit, the Barren Blossom, 2 Tri-Brigade Bearbrumm, the Rampant Rampager, 1 Hraesvelgr, the Desperate Doom Eagle, 1 Tri-Brigade Rugal, the Silver Sheller, 1 Apollosua, Bow of the Goddess, 1 Accesscode Talker, and then finally 2 Tri-Brigade Shuraig, the Ominous Omen. Alright, now that we have covered the build, let's go and take a look at some games. Alright, so this first duel is going to be against a Ferrijit deck, which I don't know that I've ever played against period in Master Duel. I'm definitely not in the League Festival before this game, but I don't think, again, I've played against period because I was looking at what all the cards do and just like trying to figure out what the archetype is all about as the opponent was playing it. It's funny, that can happen with kind of like more rogue decks sometimes, or like they're in a way almost more scary than meta decks, because at least a meta deck, I'm like, okay, I know kind of generally what they do, I know generally what their choke points are. But then, like, you see a rogue deck, and you have to, like, read every card as it's being played, and I'm just like, I don't know what the hell this deck is doing right now or going to spit out. It can be a bit intimidating, but in any case, here we got a pretty solid opening hand, leading with the, I just kind of talked over the opening line there. But yeah, opening with, of course, the Fraktall line. I want to set that up before activating the Desires, so that way I don't end up banishing, like, all 3 of my kits or all 3 of my Nervalls, which statistically isn't likely, but has happened to me enough times in the past where I've kind of learned my lesson in that regard. So, yeah, as you can see, the stuff we banished is totally fine. You know, we're not going to really miss much of it, or any of it, honestly. Maybe the 1 Revolt if it says it'd be a grindier game. Banishing that might hurt him a little bit, but we already have the other one in hand, and we end up drawing the other one, so that's also why we're playing 2 Revolt, is because of the Desires here. So yeah, then we can just normal summon the Kitt, and then summon the Fraktall, or sorry, not the Fraktall, the Ferrijit, and that's where we have landed right here, as we're now going into Bearbrumm. Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and throw out both of these. Well, actually, okay, so this was interesting. So, you know, I drew and then put back the Infinite Imperm. That wasn't not as instantaneous of a decision as the replay might make it look. I did actually stop and think about for a moment whether it would be better to top deck a Gamma or an Imperm later, because, you know, my plan was to discard the 2 Gammas with the Bearbrumm, but then I drew the second Imperm as well, and I thought, well, okay, what if I put a Gamma back and then discard Gamma and Imperm? Either way, leaving myself with the Imperm and Revolt as the 2 cards in my hand. Ultimately, I decided that I think Imperm is slightly better to have in hand than the Gamma. The Driver is going to be dead for the whole game because we don't have any more Gammas after we discard the 2 of them, but that's not very likely at all to be relevant, and isn't enough of like a tiebreaker to make you want to choose Gamma over Imperm. Imperm's just going to be generally more useful, especially moving forward, because like I do plan to have monsters on the board for the rest of the game, ideally, so that's another reason why the main reason why I didn't want to put Gamma back in the deck there. So we'll just go ahead and put the Imperm back, toss out the 2 Gammas to get that Fraktall back. Now we can use the Kerass to summon the Darumidal, go into the Apollosua, and then from here we can also go into the Ancient Warrior's Oath Double Dragon Lords, this Fraktall we got back. And we did have to do this way because you know, we didn't have enough Tri-types in graveyard otherwise, but yeah, it's a really nice way of setting up the Double Dragon Lord plus Apollosua plus Revolt as well. So, alright, so at this point they start adding their Ferrijit monsters, and you know, like, I'm seeing this one, I'm reading it. I really should have honestly like read the second effect. This is, you know, again, going back to the whole Yu-Gi-Oh! Players can't read meme. But again, I will also make the argument, like, have you seen how long card effects are? We have to read all of these. So, you know, I just see my opponent trying to special summon a monster here. And I'm just like, yeah, that's fine, whatever. Or no, sorry, I'm gonna pop off the negation. I thought I let it resolve for some reason. Oh, that's what ended up happening. I knew something wonky happened here. My opponent actually Ghost over in response, because this is what I was thinking about. I was actually had a moment where I debated if I wanted to Imperm instead of Apollosua, but then I kind of thought, no, it kind of doesn't make any sense not to Apollosua while I have the Imperm down, right? Plus, I might end up needing it for a spell or trap card later, so I'll just go ahead and save it and activate the Apollosua effect, which I don't think is wrong to do in a vacuum. I think the play was right there. It's just that my opponent happened to have like one of the very few cards that would, you know, one of the very few cards that actually sees play consistently that would wreck me in that specific situation. So, Yeah, I also should just, you know... Oh, no, of course I did get the effect off here, right. Yeah, so okay, we're going to prevent them from searching there. They're going to go ahead and try to destroy the double Dragon Lords. I'll use the effect anyway, because, like, you know, again, they're going to destroy it. I'll actually bait out a call by doing that, which is... I don't think it's going to be, like, super game-changing whether or not they have this call by, but, you know, it's definitely nice. We'll take it, so... So at this point, again, I'm unfamiliar with the deck enough that I'm just going to, like, pretty much plan on banishing whatever they link into, which ends up being an IP Masquerena. So at this point I figure, okay, they'll actually let them pass, and they actually do end up passing going to the end phase. So the end phase is where I'm going to IP Masquerena, use the Revolt to hit the IP Masquerena. And I'm very glad that I decided to wait, as the opponent does have a Maxx in response. So obviously I'm much more happy with them drawing during the end phase rather than during the main phase, because, well, now they can't use the cards that they're drawing, so... Now let's go ahead and banish this Masquerena here. I'm not going to take the chance with it. Yeah, because I thought about banishing the For Hire monster instead, again, just because I'm so unfamiliar with the archetype that I thought, like, maybe it's actually better to banish this for some, you know, in-archetype reason, but I don't know. I thought the IP Masquerena was just the safer banish overall, so I just decided to get rid of that. Okay, so the Kitt is actually a pretty nice draw here. It might not seem particularly relevant, but it definitely has the potential to be. Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and just try to go for game with what I have on board, though. Yeah, making the Rugal, and of course that's going to allow us to banish because of Shuraig's effect. And then now I can go for the 5300 Accesscode Talker, which is enough to secure lethal from the opponent. So GG's opponent, you know, as always as ever, Accesscode plus Shuraig just tends to be the way to go when you're looking to close out a game with Tri-Brigade. So that's going to do it for that game. Let's go ahead and move on to the next one. Okay, so this next duel is going to be against Crusadias, which I actually played against a couple of these while I was laddering with Tri-Brigade. So Crusadias I have actually played against before, so I do know what they're all about. It's about making one big monster that deals double damage, just winning that way. So I at least know what's up here. So I'm going to go ahead and activate the Fire Formation Tenki, of course, to add the Fraktall. What else? I don't have any other targets in this deck because I'm not playing Zodiac. I'm still not used to that. I'm used to playing Tenki and still thinking, like, maybe do I want to add a Zodiac? And I'm like, wait, that's right, that's not this deck. So, but no, of course, we just want Fraktall. That's totally fine. I'm going to use that to set up the graveyard before normal summoning the Kitt here. I'll banish you for Ferrijit, or try to anyway. So it's going to have an Infinite Impermanence. It's just going to have to be fine with this hand. I don't really have a way of stopping that or having a follow-up play because I don't have another Tri-type to discard with the Kerass. I'll just pass at this point. I may have got Maxx and Ash Blossom. I did consider maybe sending Kitt away for Almiraj, but I ultimately decided that I wanted the Kitt's effect on my opponent's turn, so no need to do that here. There are some situations where you would want to do that if you wanted to set the Kitt up in grade for like a Revolt or something, but you know, definitely not necessarily with a hand like this. So. Oh, right, and of course, I'm going to pop off Maxx in response to the normal summon of the Crusadia monster. I normally don't Maxx in response to, like, a normal summon, but I do know that Crusadia has a decent amount of Link 1 monsters that they like to go into to start their plays, or at least the one that I know of, so, yeah, I'll just go ahead and pop off Maxx in response to the normal summon. Does end up being the right call there. Excuse me. As they follow up, of course, with more plays here. So I'm going to Ash Blossom the Regulux, and the reason I'm going to do this is because I actually ended up going to Master Duel meta when they activated this effect, because I had the Ash Blossom in hand. I was like, you know, I know generally what Crusadias do, but I don't know so much what they do that I know exactly when I should be Ash Blossoming. So, you know, just kind of like flipping through the Crusadia spell and trap cards. I literally just went to masterduelmeta.com, searched Crusadia in the bar, and just glanced at all the spell and trap cards. I did notice a quick play spell that will make their monster unaffected by monster effects, so I definitely don't want that to happen. So I'm just going to go ahead and Ash the Regulux here and prevent that. That's one thing you can do, or you can try to do, if you want to. Like, if you're trying to figure out whether or not a card is, like, worth ashing, like I just did there, you can just, you know, again, pop over to Master Duel meta, search for the archetypes, see what all they can search, and then figure out, like, are any of these cards, like, gonna really hurt me? And also, like, you could make an argument of, do I think that's what the opponent's going to do here? So we actually end up drawing both of our Nibiru here, but I'm definitely liking 2 Nibiru a lot in this festival, because it's just kind of the nature of, like, spam decks, right? Like, every single Link spam deck, well, it's just going to spam a bunch of monsters. So, yeah, the double Nibiru is definitely something we like having and seeing in general. And of course, as the opponent prepares to battle with their big monster, I'm just going to wipe everything with Nibiru and then force my opponent to just kind of end there. So, I mean, yeah, at this point I have more than enough options to just end the game, but I decided to foolish for Nervall to add the kit anyway, like just in case. I needed another Tri-type to discard for the Kerass, and opponent just conceded at that point. They were pretty clearly just done with the game there. Of course, I was really planning just like summoning the Fraktall, going for the Hraesvelgr / Rugal, and then going into the Accesscode from there. Of course, Accesscode plus, well, it's not Shuraig in this case, it's a Accesscode plus Nibiru, but all the same, is 8,300 damage and enough to finish off our opponent there. So, alright, let's go and take a look at the next game. Okay, so this duel is actually against a 60-card adamantipator deck, which I was not expecting at all to see in the Link Festival, but I don't know, I looked at my opponent's deck list, and sure enough, it is just straight up an adamantipator deck. The extra deck is pretty interesting. I don't know. I just don't know. I don't know how. I'd be interested to know, like, how well my opponent is doing, this particular deck is doing in this festival. It's a very curious looking deck. So they're going to start off with the Doki Doki and discard. I did kind of debate for a moment whether I wanted to play Maxx or the PSY-Frame gear here, but ultimately decided to do the PSY-Frame gear. One, while I still could, while I had no monsters on my side of the board, and two, because, you know, I think that is a much more like definitive way to do, like, you know, just kind of hard cap your opponent's turn, is by stopping the effect of the Doki Doki there. Because of course it's going to cost them not only the Doki Doki from the hand, but also a resource to discard, and then that was just to get their effect negated. So we actually start like one card up on our opponent here. Of course, having fewer cards in hand also just makes it generally less likely that our opponent has like any kind of disruption to stop our plays here. So yeah, I am still going to play, of course, a little bit cautiously, but as I tend to do, but yeah, not super scared of what my opponent could really be doing here. Like, I'm totally fine, you know, pitching these two cards with the Bearbrumm. At least I think so, until they drop a Nibiru on me. So, if I recall correctly, my opponent here was actually pulling that trick of, like, that I've talked about in previous, I think it was a Sword Soul video, where, like, I talked about, like, toggling it off while you're holding the Nibiru, so your opponent is, you know, doesn't get suspicious of it, and again, either I was just that oblivious or my opponent was actually doing just that. So, yeah, I did actually see other people doing that online. It's definitely not advice that I solely came up with, but just always interesting to see an example of it out in the wild now. So, yeah, during the interface here, I'm just going to go ahead and get the Shuraig out and banish our opponent's Nibiru. Funnily enough, they actually did not have it out for their own Nibiru here. Or the token, rather, which is... yeah, you do have to be mindful of that. It's pretty much a meme at this point, right? Like, can you out the Nibiru token? But, I mean, I don't necessarily think it was, like, wrong of my opponent to do that. I was planning on winning that turn, but it is ultimately just going to buy them, like, you know, a turn, and not much more else beyond that here. I'm going to use the Fraktall effect to go for Hraesvelgr. Thought about going for Accesscode before entering battle phase, but decided it might be better just to battle with everything. But now, before I'm even able to do that, the opponent just concedes and gives it to us. So, alright, let's go and take a look at the next game. Okay, so this is actually going to be the last duel of the video. We're going to be playing against At Ignister, which is a deck I did think about trying for this festival, given that it really only loses out on two extra deck monsters, the Wind Pegasus and the Light Dragon. The Wind Pegasus is a decent, you know, solid hit, but you know, all the same. So I'm going to start by activating the Fire Formation Tenki for the Fraktall here. Now you may be thinking, like, why would you do the Tenki for the Fraktall when you already have a Fraktall in hand? It's a few different reasons, right? One, I'm checking for Ash Blossom here. Two, I am going to thin out a little bit of my deck before I activate the Pot of Desires. And three, it's still better, I think, to play the Tenki here for the Fraktall and get some use out of that other Fraktall, as opposed to either just letting it sit in the deck or get banished by Desires here, because my opponent doesn't know that, you know, one of my cards in hand is another Fraktall. So, you know, one, they might think it's a disruption piece, or two, they don't know that it's there to play around it, so definitely don't mind at all having it there. Yeah, like I said, we're just going to set up the typical Fraktall line in the graveyard, Fraktall, Kitt, and then Nervall. I'm going to add the Kerass just in case, you know, we need the special summon here. But we actually don't draw another Tri-Brigade monster, or Tri-type monster rather, so I'm just going to have to summon a Ferrijit to get the Kerass out there. Not a big deal at all, by the way, definitely not a big deal whatsoever. And of course we draw Rescue Cat, what feels like right on time, right? Ah well. We're going to use the Bearbrumm's effect to get the Kerass. Or not the Kerass, the Kitt rather. Now we can go into the Apollosua, although I do make a mistake here with getting the Kitt back. As I activate Bearbrumm's effect to get the Revolt, which I don't think that was a mistake, but I thought I was going to be able to... yeah, I went to activate Kitt's effect here, and then when I looked at my options for to summon as a League 2, I didn't actually see the double Dragon Lords, and I was like, oh no, what did I mess up? And of course, what I messed up was that I did remember it fairly quickly, but I was like, oh yeah, Bearbrumm's effect, I can only summon Tri-Brigade, so I'll just kind of awkwardly summon this Ferrijit and set Revolt and pass. I'm actually still able to Revolt even with only 3 zones here, so I don't have to worry about that, but yeah, so opponent's going to try the Achichi Adamantipator. Of course, I'm going to negate that with the Apollosua. And then I figure they're about to go into the Dark Infant, which it does look like that is going to be their next play, so we'll just go ahead and take that out too. Alright, now at this point the opponent doesn't have too many other options, unless they did open the AI land, or the island, which they did. So I'm just going to actually banish this with the Shuraig here. Off of the Revolt. Alright, there it is, the Shuraig. Ah, is there any more beautiful sight than those specific Link arrows lighting up? Oh, it always means something's about to get banished. In this case, it's the island. I'm going to banish the Ignister Island to 1, keep it off of the opponent's board just in general, and 2, by putting it in Banish, not in Graveyard, or denying our opponent the ability to use this effect to set it back up on the field from the graveyard. So. Alright, now we've got the, let's see, what is this? Not Doyan. Doshin, that's right, the Doshin Ignister. I did decide to kind of hedge and negate that just in case, but the opponent does also have the Hiari. I was actually thinking when I saw that get revealed for the special summon, like, you know, at this point, they either have it or they don't. Well, I mean, of course they always either have it or they don't, but specifically in reference to that, you know, the Hiari there, I was like, okay, they might have another means, especially something another added Mr. Monster, but I think it's going to be pretty far-fetched. And of course, it happened. Say la vie, though, such is life. Alright, so here comes their Accesscode Talker. Fortunately, with the current board state, I do have enough just general bodies on board to survive all this, even with the 0-attack Apollosua. Although, I'm curious, though. I feel like my opponent might have been able to go for the Update Chamber OTK? Maybe they couldn't because of, well, no, it's the monster's levels, right? It needs to be level 2 or higher. It doesn't even have an attack threshold. Maybe they're just not playing it? But how do you not play it? I don't know. It's interesting. Just take a look at this list again, actually, after I finish recording this video here. Just again, I'm just so curious as to what my opponent's playing there. Yeah, and of course they did end up getting another AA island, or an island. I keep forgetting that's how it's pronounced. They ended up getting another island out, but it's no issue at all, honestly. Alright, of course, going to lead with the Desires here to see what we get, see if it's anything that makes our life at least a little bit easier. We are always hoping for that. The Tenki and the Callby is pretty but not a big deal either. We do already have more than enough ammo on board in order to OTK this opponent here, so. Then here comes the Shuraig. We use that to banish the access code, and then now we can just, link into the Rugal, and then from there, Rugal plus the Kitt can just link up into the, not Kitt, Rugal plus Fraktall, rather, can just link up into the Shuraig, so. The Accesscode Talker, jeez. Oh, I can't keep any of my names straight here. So yeah, pretty straightforward, just gonna pop the Hiari and move to battle phase and just swing for lethal. You know, as again is a want of this deck, just finishing the opponent off with Shuraig plus Accesscode. So, alright, that is going to do it for the games. Let's go ahead and move now to the outro. All right, everybody, thank you for watching all the way to the very end. I do appreciate that, as always, as ever, not only as a means to support the channel, but also just personally. Same with those of you who are commenting and subscribing. Again, appreciate that very much, both personally and as a way of supporting the channel. Comments, let me know what you thought of the Link Festival overall, both the way it was structured and the games that you had, the decks that you played. Again, the latter seems to be a bit of a controversial take, which I don't think is unwarranted. But definitely interested to see what you all think in the comments there. And subscribing, yeah, don't forget to go ahead and do that if you would like notifications of when my videos drop. That does happen every single day, so you do get a daily Master Duel video just for subscribing there. But yeah, that's going to go ahead and do it, I think, for this one. So without further ado, this is XLex, signing out, and I hope you have a fantastic day.